Well, hello again, people. It's Paul Marsden here, talking with you again about some further tips for getting through lockdown. The last day we looked at things like putting a structure into your day, keeping in touch with nature as being very important things for you. Communication, also important, keeping those links open with all the family, with the friends. Time for yourself, and then time for others. And getting a news fast every so often, just getting away from the news. Because the news is so negative and so down. If you're worried or you're anxious anyway at all, that can add to that in all sorts of ways. So getting a news fast, getting away from the news for a little while, you will get it. Don't worry, if something does happen, you'll hear all about it. So you won't miss out on anything. Some further tips as well for helping you get through the lockdown thing. Really key thing is a bit of exercise every single day. Now it hasn't to be strenuous stuff, going to a gym, doing all sorts of things. That wouldn't happen these days anyway. But you have to just have some little thing to do every day that stretches you a tiny bit. And so going for a walk, if you can get out at all during the day, get out and do some walking during the day. At that time you'll meet people as well, so greet them, say hello to them. Get out, get some air. Movement is very, very important. And doing some basic exercises, and again on the web you'll see some of those things done. I think Joe Wicks does them, a lot of people do these things. Nothing awfully strenuous, just some stretching and bending things, really good for yourselves. Keep mobility in action. If you're stuck and locked in all the time, it's important to have these things there just to bend properly and to walk properly and so on. So getting out, having a good walk, and really stretch those legs, put the shoulders back and the head up and stretch that as well. Those are key things to do to keep you really, really intact health-wise. So build that in. And again, part of the day's structure, as I mentioned at the very beginning last time, have a time for your walk. Maybe a walk in the morning and a walk in the evening, depending on the day, depending on the kind of weather that you have out there. Get out twice if you can. And you'll begin to look forward to that after a while. It becomes not a chore, but something you really, really enjoy. And then maybe count your steps if you want to, or stretch the length of the space you're going. Make around the block for the first few times, then reverse your direction, maybe double the block, do around twice, this kind of thing. And stretch that, extend that a little bit as well. And do that daily. And again, nothing strenuous, just to get out, get some air, really good for your mind and your nerves, calm things down. We know that. I mentioned before nature. You can walk away from traffic, get to some nice park type area or away from cars and fumes and things, get away from all that and away from noise, and hear some nature noise. Hear some birds singing, some water running and some wind going through trees. More nature type walk, really good for you, really, really good. Builds up all sorts of good chemicals inside yourself, builds up good endorphins, get a nice dopamine hit from that kind of stuff, and because of that, that's why you look forward to it every single day. And that also helps your structure. So you have a morning walk and a walk in the evening. And some people before bed find a walk really helpful just before getting to bed, because it tires them in a way. It's a good, nice tiredness. They get back home, get into bed, and will sleep much better later on. Now, it depends on the evenings, the brightness and the light and so on. And people don't like walking in the dark. That's understandable. It can be dangerous too. There's traffic and no light and so on. You can stumble on things. So just avoiding all that. When it's brighter, head out. But certainly a morning walk and an afternoon walk, really good things to do. Also during the day, good thing to do, if you can have time again, is just have a nap during the day. Now, not too much of a nap. A nap for, say, 20 minutes, the experts say 20 minutes, because if you go over 20, you're starting to do a whole sleep cycle that will take away from your night's sleep that night. But a tiny nap during the day is really important to get yourselves perked up. So build that in if you can at some time. During the afternoon is for some people the best nap time. So activity, again, during the day, really good activities. People often tend to find their television, turn it on, just sit there looking at something. I remember going to a friend's house one day, he's watching TV. I said to him, "What's on? What are you watching?" He said, "Oh, I don't know, I just pressed the button and that came on, you know." So he had no idea what he was watching even. So that kind of stuff is that kind of passive exercise. That's not really good. The more involved you are in the exercise you do, relaxation you do, the better for you. So say something like reading something. And again, I mentioned I'm in a library here today, and the ideas like BorrowBox, Orbi Digital, all these things you can get online from libraries are a brilliant source. I must say, from about last March, when this lockdown started, the first one started, up to now, we're in just in February in the next few days, I must have got through about 90 books in that time, just all on BorrowBox and what the library has here in stock online. Fantastic way to do it. Even the audio books are brilliant. Going on your walk, put those in your ear and head off. That's active exercise. That's active relaxation. You're involved in it. And the more involved you are in your relaxation, the better. That's why people love things, say, like jigsaws even appeal to people, because you're actively involved figuring out where things go. Crosswords, Sudokus, all the same thing, exercising your brain, but you're actively involved in that. So the passive thing of watching something is not great. You will watch TV for news, for catch up on various things, but that's enough. Then get off that and do some more active activities that you're involved in during the day. So reading is great, and the audio stuff, brilliant. Another thing to do is watch what food you eat during the day. I mentioned before, the less processed stuff you have, the better. I was in someone's house there last week and they were showing me things that they were going to be eating, and they had these slices of chicken. I just thought, right, this chicken doesn't look like chicken to me, but whatever. So I looked at the back of it, and there's about 15 different ingredients in this thing, and it did say chicken at some point, but then all these other things in it. And I always say to people, the more processed stuff is, the less good it is for you. And the more things in it, the more processed it is. So it should just say chicken, maybe water or something and chicken, and that's it. But there's 15 things, there was numbers and e-numbers and all these scary things in it, and maltose and maltodextrin and all this stuff in it, all these sugars all built into it. So the less of that you have, the better. But a real piece of ordinary, basic chicken tastes even much, much better than that. So the more natural and whole you can keep your foods like that, the better for you. Better for your own digestion and for your energy levels and for your mood levels. A lot of work done now on food and mood, and we know that what you eat affects how you feel. And if you eat the wrong things, you won't feel great. And then your sleep is affected by what you eat as well. We know that also from new research coming in on that all the time. And we know now from the whole sleep thing, a lot of work done on sleep right now. What you eat has a huge effect on the sleep, and the way you sleep affects how you break down what you've eaten. So it all kind of links in together as well. So again, watch what you eat. The more colours, the better. The fresher, the better. We'll see in another video, I'll look at how to make a habit of eating better, more easy for yourself as well. Another thing to do then is to go on this news fast I mentioned before, because we're so burdened down by all this negative stuff. Now, if you're feeling kind of worried about things, it means your sense of being in control of things, feeling on top of things, is not very, very strong. And if you keep hearing over and over again all this other negative stuff outside there that you have no control of really, that reinforces this sense of a loss of being on top of things, a loss of being in control of things, which then leads directly into more anxiety, more worry. And people with worry, anxiety, even depression issues have that loss of sense of control. And so it's so important to get that control up there. I don't mean control, freaky thing. I mean just sense of being, yeah, I can handle this, I can deal with this. That sense of being on top of things that we all need to have for good mental health. Think of, say, your first day in a new job you started years ago. You went in there to this job and you knew nobody, knew nothing, didn't know where things went or what happened, and you were totally out of control there, worried about it. But you learned as the days went on, the weeks went on, what to do. But say you had that sense of anxiety, it's like you were in that job all the time on the first day, that you never learned what goes where or who goes or who that person is or what happens, and you never ever learned that. So this constant kind of anxiety, more stuff coming at you that you didn't know how to control, that reinforces that sense of loss of control and reinforces the anxiety and the worry and the depression ultimately in people. And one thing you can do about that comes from Andrew Weil, some great stuff in this years ago, is to go on a news fast, to get away from that news, that negative stuff during the day. So get the news in the morning and in the evening maybe, and that's it. Then leave it and go and do something else. Read something, hear some nice music, do some comedy stuff, do some different things. There are other things happening out there that are just as real, just as valid, but more helpful to you than that constant news thing that happens. And news stations are now so attractive and so glamorous. You want to watch these things happening all the time, and this sort of ticker tape thing at the bottom running along there that makes you want to watch more and more. But it's the same thing you're hearing over and over and over again, and that really rams it right into yourself, into your mind, and can really wear you down over the course of a day. People wonder why they're so down. So get your news in the morning, in the evening, and then leave it at that. There are people I talk to and I help who get news several times, and they've had their day structured, but structured in the wrong way, structured from news to news to news. That's how they punctuate their day, and that's not helping them, because by night time they're so worried they can't sleep properly. Now, they can't control these things they're hearing about on the news. They can't control COVID numbers. They can't control wars and depressions out there and this kind of house prices and strange things that happened or stabbings. They can't control those things or change those things. But that feeds into this sense of not being on top of things, not being able to handle things greatly. And that does that to you. So get away from the news and have some good stuff. I mentioned BorrowBox before in the library, all the books here, all the online resources here in the library. Get into those and read those. Apparently Reading Ireland is coming up next week in February. That's a great time to read, find new books and find new authors, and some great things out there at the moment, and get your teeth into those and have a good time with those. Again, think of crosswords, Sudoku, all these things. Get your brain used up in all sorts of great ways. Okay, some more tips there for you. Hope you can use some of those things, you find them helpful. They're very practical, very, very here and now stuff. You might hear more about them in future videos, but for now, stay well and stay happy, and I'll talk to you again.